Fred, the show time again. Thank you for joining us here on WSPA Plus. We're talking about homes and housing today. We've got two great guests for you. Now, joining us a little bit later on will be LaTanya Phillips. She's the president and CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Greenville County. They are celebrating 40 years. We'll hear from her coming up in a little bit. But right now, let's talk about housing, buying, selling. They're going up. It is a crazy time to be in the Upstate, specifically in Greenville. We could not ask for a better guest. Angela Rodriguez is here. You first knew her as an outstanding anchor and reporter on a local NBC affiliate. Those are all the breadcrumbs I'm going to leave for you. But then she saw the light and made the move to real estate. She has built Encore Realty, now the broker in charge. Angela, thanks for being here.
Oh, Fred, thank you so much for having me and for those kind words.
It's great to see you again and great to talk about what you've done with your career. Tell me a little bit about that transition, not so much getting out of TV news, but what drew you to want to get into real estate?
Well, I think it was a eat, pray, love moment. If I'm being honest, I had my daughter, she was one. And once you have a child, you know, Fred, you just look at life through a different lens. And I knew that I was a really good detective. I won an Emmy for investigating reporting. And now I consider myself to be a house detective. And so I'm trying to find out things before everyone else and just using my skills of networking and having really good relationships with people and vendors and lenders and closing attorneys and really being an advocate for someone. And my favorite part, Fred, is now I get to tell people what I really think. I don't have to be neutral. I can tell you exactly what I think.
Exactly. You don't have to be fair and balanced and all that stuff. That is the good news. Well, I want to talk about real estate in the Upstate right now. Let me try to tee you up this way. Back like, you know, in your older days or younger days when, of course, you used to just crush a softball. Let me tee you up this way. I remember there was a 60 Minutes piece. I think they called it The Big Quit. It came out in 2022, and it talked about people leaving big cities who could work remotely, and they were moving around the country. And the two cities they said were the big targets were Austin, Texas, and Greenville, South Carolina. Of course, my first reaction was, thanks. Now everybody knows. So what are you seeing right now? Buyer's market, seller's market, homes coming up. What are you seeing?
It depends, Fred. That is like the number one answer in real estate is it depends. We see everything. And yes, we are seeing so many people who move here from other states. The big draw is that we don't have snow and we don't have exorbitant taxes. So every year we get people moving in from New Jersey to escape the taxes and the snow. Same thing with Ohio. In the peak of COVID, we saw people moving from out west in California specifically. But here, I would say that we are a healthy market, but I would say it's still balanced. I wouldn't say that it's tilted necessarily in one direction or the other, because the fact of the matter is we do have more buyers than sellers. What we're seeing right now is the cost to borrow money is so expensive. The cost, frankly, for everything is expensive. You know, if you're trying to buy gas or groceries or book a flight to see your family for the holidays, I don't think you like the price of anything, you know, especially the older you get, because you've got some life experience and all you've done is basically see prices go up. So what I would tell you is it's complicated here, because in some neighborhoods, like for example, the Hartness neighborhood, that's a newer neighborhood that's kind of like Hollingsworth. It's built around a restaurant and a hotel. There are more than 20 homes, high quality, expensive luxury homes on the market in that neighborhood. But that's not every neighborhood. There are some other, you know, local family hotspots that we just don't have inventory because people like where they live and they're not motivated to move. The other thing that we're seeing is we've got a math problem in that there's a national housing shortage, not just here in Greenville. And because of the cost to borrow money, the builders and developers are hitting pause again. They're hitting pause. And so they're not giving us the inventory to get out of this trench. Okay. And you couple that with the fact that so many sellers refinanced in 2021 when they could get a 2 and 3% interest rate. So I think the last stat that I saw is that basically 40% of homes in the US don't have a mortgage. And of the homes with mortgages, 60% of those homes have an interest rate of 3%. So the math for them is not what our everyday rate is right now is for, like, let's just say your regular conventional loan, that's about 6.2. Of course that
Right.
changes every day. It could be a different rate by the time this airs. And so the math isn't mathing for most people. And in the meantime, we are seeing 98% of list to sales price. So sellers are still getting their price as a statistic. That doesn't necessarily mean that. And you could be watching that and saying, I'm not getting my price, or your neighbor didn't get that price. But there are always different pricing and marketing strategies. And it's not a, one for all type situation ever. That's why real estate is so complicated, because you can't just put it on YouTube. We've got 50 states with 50 different rules, more than 50 different contracts. And you really do, as a buyer and a seller, need to build your own team of advisors. That starts with a real estate agent who's experienced, not just freshly minted, right? This is where you don't just want to use somebody, make sure you're working with an experienced agent, because you just can't rush experience. And so, but definitely get a team of advisors. I wouldn't want to be in these waters without a guide.
You're a very, very good guide, and you do a great job on social media as well, your YouTube channel. How many views do you have?
Well, right, it changes every day.
Yeah.
Hopefully it went up overnight, but I started the channel last year and we are over 1 million views. I think
Wow.
last I saw it was like 1.2 million. And Fred, I think it's that natural storyteller in me, and just wanting to get the right information out there, specifically for people in the state of South Carolina or people abroad who may be thinking about moving here. I sold a house one time to a buyer from Ireland who literally saw my video. And that was like this light bulb moment for me, that my message can be seen not just locally, but across the globe.
We are seeing that kind of thing happen. I also know there's a lot of people who are buying homes here. At least at one point, they were buying a home before they even got here, sight unseen, at least human eye. I mean, I know we can see it with videos now, but it's just a fascinating time.
Sight unseen is definitely something that makes a broker like me very nervous, because the depth and width with photos is really hard to grasp. I think that you need to be able to walk in, look, touch, put your hands on it. But of course, the contracts give you due diligence periods. So you may have made an offer sight unseen, and then you flew here to see it within that inspection period. But of course, everybody did things in different ways, and it's about risk, right? Some people were willing to risk hundreds of thousands of dollars, understanding that real estate is the asset that keeps most people wealthy. And the challenging part with that, Fred, is that in the height of like 2021 is where we would see 40 offers for a house in Simpsonville, in one of these planned communities. And at that point, the buyer who secured the house and won the multiple offer had to have liquid, real cash to go over the sales price and cover any appraisal gap. And so if you weren't sitting on, let's just say, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 real cash, then you couldn't play this real estate game. And most people can't do that, Fred. And so then they just kind of went on the sidelines, which I understand, right? At that point, you couldn't even get a repair for a house. Today, you can. In fact, the pendulum has swung in the other direction, but I still would not say that it is necessarily a buyer's market. We are certainly shifting in that direction, but like our housing inventory is close to like 5 months of inventory. But again, I think I told you, very neighborhood specific, street specific, city specific. So we're not exactly tilted in the favor of the buyers yet, but in some circumstances, buyers can negotiate. I think the key for buyers in negotiating is days on market. Anytime a house has been on the market for more than 60 days, I would tell you that the market has voted on your price.
Well, there you go. We got about 3 or 4 minutes left. I want to make sure we get this in, because you talked about this before with me. It's eye-opening to see how much homes cost now compared to what I paid compared to what you paid. For young people who are trying to achieve that American dream, what do you want them to know?
Know that it's possible. Okay. You don't have to have this 20% down payment that once upon a time you may have had. What we're seeing right now are opportunities in these new construction communities where you have a big production builder that comes in, they own the builder, they own the sales staff, they own the lender. And there are spec homes right now. That means that they're already built. So the builder has taken a loan to build these homes, and now interest, right? It's costing the builder money. So they are slashing prices. They are offering tens of thousands of dollars in incentives. In some cases, we've seen interest rates well below market rate. I think I told you market rate today is 6.2, but we are seeing some communities offering 3.99% interest rates. So you could get into one of these communities perhaps with a 3% down payment, or depending on where they are. One of my favorite tools to just enter the housing market is a USDA loan. That's 100% financing. Our veterans also have VA loans. That's 100% financing. So there are some tools. You just need to talk to somebody. And nobody I know in this business, whether they're a lender or a real estate agent, will tell you that it's too early. They're happy to talk to you, give you the best advice for your current situation, and keep in touch, because most of us who care and are really good at this know that we're going to be helping families for many, many years to come. This is just not a one-time deal for us. We want to make a lasting relationship with you.
And let everybody know how they can contact you at Encore Realty.
Oh, I'm old school. You can call me on my phone, 864-609-7219. I also like an email. Please watch the YouTube channel, subscribe. I check the comments there. And you can always shoot me a text. I always ask people, hey, so what's your preferred method of communication? Some people love to text these days because they just don't have time for the chit chat. I mean, whatever it is, we'll do it and we'll set it up. But you do not have to do this alone. This really is, Fred, the most money that most people will spend in their lifetime at one time.
And it's a big investment to keep in mind, but I'm just so glad you've given young people. I've got a daughter who's 25. She's not ready to buy a house yet, but maybe the next 5 years, and I don't want her to be too intimidated by that.
Yeah, for someone like your daughter, Fred, I'd highly recommend looking at a townhome, because that's a foot in the door. And if you get into these new construction communities in the early phases, okay, the prices keep going up. So if you're in phase one or early in phase two, you're going to have automatic equity by the time the neighborhood is closed out, say a year and a half later. They charge more for the same exact thing. So I think that a townhome is a really good wealth building tool for a first time buyer. And you might be able to get a roommate, so offset some of that mortgage and just save that money. And it teaches you how to be a homeowner. But the townhome, a lot of times the HOA is responsible for the roof and the exterior and the landscaping. So it's a really good first step.
You say one of the best nuggets for the end. Angela, thanks for being here. Congratulations on your success. Thanks for being with me today.
Oh, good to see you, Fred. Anytime.
All right, Angela Rodriguez, Encore Realty. Much more Fred the Show in just a moment. Welcome back to Fred the Show. We are helping to mark 40 years of Habitat for Humanity of Greenville County. And of course, they just do extraordinary work. And we are so pleased to be joined today by LaTanya Phillips. She's the president and the CEO of Habitat Greenville. First of all, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for having me, Fred.
Pleasure to have you here. Tell me about how you got involved with this organization. I know that you were part of its board for a few years before you had the opportunity to take the position you have now.
That is correct. I was part of the board, but even before that, I actually spent some time working on other boards, both here in South Carolina and Kentucky, as it related to the unhoused. And so I had a friend that also knew that and also was on a different board, Habitat, and said, I think you could really bring some value to this. And so I got involved, and in Tanya form, when I join something, I get involved, and just found a totally different perspective as it related to home ownership. And so that's how this all happened. I was on the board for several years and then went into as being board chair. And then voila, here we are.
And here we are, and the work that's been done here is amazing. Let me know if these numbers are a little bit behind now. Since being founded, celebrating 40 years, 430 homes built, 330 more rehabbed, and like 234,000 volunteer hours.
That you are right on target, with the exception of things that we're doing currently at this time. Great numbers, right? Great numbers.
Incredible numbers. Yeah. At one point, wasn't the idea maybe one house a month or something like that, and you've blown that away?
Ideally, for a lot of affiliates, it's one house a year.
No.
So we are doing great work here in Greenville County. We're pretty proud of it.
Absolutely, you should be. Tell me a little bit about what this organization does, because people have the idea that it's free houses, and no, you've said it many times, home ownership.
Home ownership.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important to take you back to what our mission is, and our mission is putting God's love into action by bringing people together to build homes, communities, and hope. So when we put ourselves in that position, we are trying to gather people that may not have even thought that home ownership was a possibility. We work alongside them to help them become more financially stable and drive them in that direction where they can be not only successful homeowners, but great neighbors.
How does the process work? If you can maybe kind of walk me through just the idea of, first of all, finding a lot or finding a plot of land. Just take me to the process of what it takes from start to handing the keys over to a family.
Sure. So Habitat is responsible for finding the land. And so oftentimes that comes by way of our municipalities who want to partner with us. Other times it should and will be part of us going out and finding our own land. At that point, we also, on the other side of that, are going through our family services department, where we're interviewing families that are interested in this opportunity. We work alongside them once they're qualified with financial literacy courses, budgeting courses, again, good neighbor courses, anything related to home ownership and being a good neighbor within our community. Once we get those two in alignment, then it is about sponsorships to get the house built. Mm-hmm. So again, we are a not-for-profit, so that means that we are dependent on the community and the sponsors of the community to get that built. Once the house is built and we've got the family ready, then it is a merging of the two. The family actually takes on the mortgage. So to your point earlier, we are not giving these homes away. Mm-hmm. The people actually qualify. They qualify as if they were going to a bank, because a lot of the mortgages are held by banks. But they just have a little extra help from our organization to help them be successful homeowners.
It's probably more important now than ever, because I know I've got a 25-year-old daughter. She's not ready to buy a home yet, but that's going to be somewhere in her future.
Absolutely.
And the price that she and her husband, however that goes, the price that they're going to have to pay is jaw-dropping to what I paid for my home nearly 30 years ago. How much does this organization matter even more now in our contemporary climate?
You know, it's hard to put a measure on that, because I think that we are extremely important in that equation. Your daughter, my daughter, many people, we're hearing this conversation, right? So where an affordable house more than 7 years ago was $80,000, you're actually now talking right under $400,000. Do the math, right? Mm-hmm. If you're coming out, if you're a young adult and you're making $50,000, which a couple of years ago was great, but that doesn't quite get you into an affordable home. Nor does it really get you into an affordable apartment without a roommate, of course. Mm-hmm. And so what we do is impactful. We are trying to keep the costs down as much as we possibly can, i.e. why we use volunteers to help us build the homes, because that helps keep those costs down. But we are more important to that equation right now than we've ever been before.
Are you closer for most of your builds, or maybe the ones that you're more familiar with what you're doing now? Are you in the Greenville area, or is it really all over Greenville County?
So as an affiliate, we have the space to be in Greenville County. We do have properties in the city area, but we also have in the county. And so we will always be open to building where the land permits us to build. And again, it's all about land and where we are able to receive that land. But Greenville County, anywhere in Greenville County, Habitat for Humanity is able to build in that area.
Let me just take a quick departure away from Greenville to talk about the national organization, because I think that if you ask most people, what do you know about Habitat for Humanity, one of the first couple of things they're going to mention, of course, is going to be the late President Jimmy Carter, his late wife, Rosalind, and their connection to this organization. This organization in all goes back, I think they're coming up on 50 years next year.
That is correct. You are absolutely correct. Yes, so President Carter and his First Lady, yes, they were really committed to Habitat for Humanity, but they did not found it. They were not the founders of Habitat for Humanity, but they shed the light on it. When they became involved in that commitment, that is when you really started hearing a lot about Habitat for Humanity. So we are grateful as an organization that they decided to spend time and be committed to us. It helped us grow. It helped others look at the humanity of what we were doing. And that's really, we can attribute a lot of that to them.
When I look at the growth of Greenville, I've lived here for 38 years. When you look just at downtown Greenville, and you just see the expanding area, I mean, this is one of the hottest areas in the country to move to. Greenville County, Spartanburg County is entering that phase now. What does this growth impact? How does it impact your organization?
So my husband and I, we've been here for 10 years, and we absolutely love this community. It is a great community to live in. The growth of it does indeed impact the people that we serve. The more, if we're counting on that 200,000 people that are supposed to be here in this community by 2040, what that says is that that growth is going to push people in that 30 to 80% AMI down just even further, right? Housing stock is going to increase because there's a need, right? People are moving here and they can afford it. We have a lot of people that are moving from the north and from the west. And so we love our community, but that is reasonable compared to what they were paying in those areas. Yeah. So coming in here and purchasing a $400,000 home is not a big jump for people that are moving here. It is pushing down the stock, though, for the people that we serve. And so I guess a great reflection of that is we opened up our application process about 4 months ago, and within 30 days had over 700 applicants that had come to us wanting to be a part of our program. So if that doesn't speak to you about what's going on, I don't know what could.
You put it very well. I want to talk again about your organization. 40 years, what kind of plans do you have to celebrate this milestone?
Well, we started on September 20th. That was the date that our affiliate 40 years ago was established. We started off with our fundraising event, which was 2 weeks ago, honoring our founders and continuing to look towards the future. We're also rolling out some different things this year. So, for instance, we're going to do our first set of townplexes. You might refer to them as duplexes, but two-story, 2 units together for home ownership. We're also this year going to work on our first set of townhomes. So how we're celebrating is by putting tools in our backpack that will allow us to be here for an additional 40 years if necessary.
Before we go, I just want to throw it out to you. If you have anything that you want someone to know about your organization and also how they can be a part of it, whether they are constantly with the organization or want to be those volunteers, just let her rip.
Sure. Well, thank you. Don't give me an opportunity. Well, the first thing I really, really want people to understand is Habitat for Humanity does not just belong to myself and to the team that works there. It is a community organization. This is a community problem that we have. And my hope is that more people within our community will see this and feel the need to help out. This belongs to us, and we've got to make that right. How can you help out? Of course, volunteering, that's a great way to help out. Come out, build a home. I cannot tell you the number of people who say that they have done that one time thinking they didn't even know how to hold a hammer, and they walk away with such a gratitude for what they've been able to do and see and how they've been able to help that they keep coming back over and over again. Of course, another way is funding. We live here in 2025, right? Philanthropic landscape is a little bit different, and we are not for profit. So in order for us to do the work, we have to have the monies coming in to help with that. And so if you feel passionate about what we do in this mission, I just ask you to give us a call, give us your resources, and allow us to continue to do the good work that we were put here to do. The final thing is, if you know of land, right? If you have land in the Greenville County area, we know that as a not-for-profit, we were not able to act in a manner that our for-profit construction companies do. And so we have not gotten to the land as quickly as they were able to, and or to be able to afford it in the same way. So if there are people out there that believe in our mission, and you know of property or have property that you would love to keep as affordable home ownership or a space to build affordable homes, please give us a call and let's discuss further.
Absolutely. LaTanya Phillips, President and CEO, Habitat for Humanity, Greenville County. Thank you for the work you've done. Happy 40 years, and thanks for being with me today.
Thank you so much, Fred.
And that is Fred the Show. We'll see you next time right here on WSPA Plus.